Good afternoon, and welcome to Channel 8 News. I'm Muriel Van Jesperson.
And I'm Anita Mann.
We have some excitement in the community, bringing breaking news from the streets of Watts, the poor African-American commercial district in South Central LA.
As you may know, the Watts community's long-standing discontentment with substandard living, inadequate schools, and unemployment levels above the Depression has created a lot of racial tension in this district. California's recent Prop 14 to continue this racial discrimination in housing has riled up the Black community, who view this proposition as a violation of last year's Civil Rights Act.
However, despite usherings for peaceful protests in the past decade by Dr. King, racial conflict is still breaking out in the streets. In fact, we have our field reporter Jess on the scene of a DUI on Avalon Boulevard between a Black community member and a white police officer. Let's go to Jess.
Hi, the scene appears to be an African-American male being arrested by a Caucasian officer. The arrestee seems to be resisting arrest. A crowd of angry-looking Black people are forming now. Whoa! It appears that...
It appears the African-American crowd is going wild and the situation appears to be escalating. We're receiving a live report right now. Let's go back to Jess to see what's happening. Jess?
It appears the African-American rioters are throwing rocks at the officers, looting and burning liquor stores, grocery stores, and automobiles. Hundreds of buildings are being damaged, but it seems most of the violence and property damage are being instigated against the white property owners and businessmen. Here we have a white resident of Watts to represent white America's thoughts on this riot. So, ma'am, your store was looted. How do you feel?
Well, what are all of these communist monkey hoodlums doing? Destroying their own neighborhood. They're all a bunch of freaking criminals.
Alright, let's go back to a Black rioter here. Sir, what can you explain about the situation and what are your motives behind all this destruction?
Well, basically, the Black community sees this as a turning point in the civil rights movement. We must band together to fight against this oppressive system for equality and to end the slum life and poverty that Prop 14 has brought upon us.
Thank you. Well, it appears... Yes, well, it appears the deployment of 14,000 National Guard troops has finally put down the destruction, but Muriel and Anita not without a fight. 30,000 rioters in a 46-square-mile zone of LA, nearly 4,000 arrests, 1,000 injuries, and 34 African-American deaths, an estimated $40 million in property damage to over 1,000 buildings, an overwhelming majority being white stores and businesses.
And Jess, what may happen now with this being the first major violent protest of the civil rights movement?
Well, it appears that the nonviolence suggested by Dr. King may be out the window. We might be seeing some other uprisings in racially discriminating cities like Newark and Detroit very soon. Reporting live from Watts, this is Jess Nutt from Channel 8 News. Back to you, Muriel and Anita.
Thank you, Jess.
Indeed, both Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and President Lyndon B. Johnson are already recommending a war on poverty as a result of these riots. Let's go to sociology expert Dr. Crystal Ball to give us some clarification on the effects of all this violence. Dr. Ball, say it like it is.
Thank you. Like you said, these riots will likely lead to more public attention to ghetto conditions and bring back the Fair Housing Act to lessen discrimination. Unfortunately for our Black community, this violence will probably take off in the coming years. And as for all these anti-poverty programs the president suggested, literacy programs, better police relations, healthcare, job training, cheap housing, we have plenty of systematic racism to even hope of those things too. Overall, Muriel and Anita, the Watts riots have not created a war on Black poverty, but a war on the people who have ensured Black poverty since the birth of America. Thank you. Well, that was depressing.
Yep, well, let's pretend like these riots never happened then, huh? Coming up next, is the Mary Quant miniskirt going to be the next hot fashion statement of the decade? We'll be right back.
A crowd of angry-looking Black people are forming now. Whoa! 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 It appears that...